Okay, so talking about not bad things, but good things in Philadelphia, let's go ahead and put a spotlight on Deb. Deb has done a phenomenal job with the Philly 5K. She has raised over $400. Deb, you've been a frequent flyer with all of these things that we've done this year. It's so great to see you here today, and thanks for everything you've done with this Philly 5K. Phenomenal. This is what it's all about, right? It's giving back. We really appreciate it. Your friendly face. We love seeing you around, and we love what you're doing to help feed hungry Philadelphians. It's awesome. So thank you very much, Deb. And let's follow in her footsteps. So we've raised $160 since the start of our event today. As you just heard, Charlie is going to match up to $500. So check the link. I'll throw the link back in there. Throw a couple dollars into the till. It would be great. We want to go ahead and give as much as we can to people who need it the most this year. So with that, thank you very much, Stephanie, for that last coffee talk of 2020. We're now going to go into the next session of our program today, and that is going to be a panel conversation that will be led by Councilman Allan Domb, and we're going to have some industry insiders join us with us for that conversation. So as we know, this year has had a lot of different challenges. A lot of things have changed. We were shut down. Things were very different, and people had to pivot and change the way they do things or build upon the successes that they've had in the past, or just create a whole new model. So we're going to try to get into some of that stuff today and hear about what different people have done around the city to make their business thrive in 2020. So our panelists today will be Britt McLaughlin, Brittany Nettles, Juliet Welker, Karrie Gavin, Mike McCann, Noah Ostroff, and Roderick Walker. So we welcome all of you folks. If you could unmute yourselves, and then I'll give the floor over to Councilman Allan Domb. Councilman.
Thank you, Matt, and good morning, everyone. And we're so fortunate, by the way, to have Charlie Oppler as our president of NAR this year, especially with Stephanie's connection. So he's a great guy and proud of his accomplishments. And Stephanie, I just want to mention that we're very proud of you as our president. This was probably the most challenging year to ever be president of GPAR, and you did a great job, and we're looking forward to next year, so thank you. And Bill Festa, how about Bill Festa, the president of PAR? Amazing. And thank you, Bill, for all your service. And Matt and the staff, you guys kept it together this year, one of our toughest years ever, and you did a great job keeping us connected and keeping us focused. And I will say this, Charlie, Bill, Stephanie, Matt, they're the ones who made real estate essential back in June. Charlie worked on it, Bill Festa and PAR, Stephanie, Matt, you guys all worked on it, and everyone, we owe a debt of gratitude to you guys. So let me just talk about the contributions. Tell Charlie Opper I gave $500, so he's got to cough up his 500, okay? And number two, for anyone out there, I'm not going to call out names, let's have a 500 club. Thank God we got through this year, others are struggling. I'm going to challenge everyone on this call, if you can get it up to 500 or whatever number, let's have a $500 club. So let's start with our panelists. We're here today, and we're welcoming Britt, Brittany, Julie, Karrie, Michael, Noah, and Roderick. So let's start with the first question. And by the way, your answers today, make them as brief and concise and informative as possible. I'm sure people are taking notes and they want direct answers to the questions and how to, like takeaways from this session. Let's start with the first question. I'll go right through the whole panel. How was this year compared to last year regarding your volume, unit sales? Just give us a kind of a brief overview. And let's start with Britt.
So this year we increased by 60% in volume and 42% in units. And we added a new showing agent and some more members to our back office. So.
Yeah, and in turn, that's all leverage. So we added more leverage to our team.
Oh, that's great. Are you both Brittany?
Yeah.
That just worked out that way, I guess. Okay.
Not confusing at all.
Let's go to Julie Welker. And by the way, Julie Welker, besides being a phenomenal realtor, besides running for city council, we have to be so proud of her daughter's accomplishments, Kristen Welker, who handled one of the debates, the presidential debate. Pretty amazing. Julie, tell us about your year.
Thank you, Allan. Well, first, I want to join the 500 Club. I give my pledge at this moment. And in addition to having a big bottle of wine in front of me when Kristen was moderating the debate, we've had a great year. Surprisingly, it really surprised us because we didn't think we would, given everything that was going on. We had good sales going into the year, and they have just continued. So I don't have the percentage that was just given, but because we've been so busy, but it has been significant.
Great, that's great. Let's go to Karrie Gavin.
Hi. We also had an incredible year. When everything first shut down in March, we were nervous and we didn't know how it was going to turn out, but I'm really happy to say it's been my best career. Our teams, in the entire time we've been in this business, I think we're up roughly 50%. We're going to be up in sales volume. We're going to be close to 100 million for the year, and pretty amazing, and just feel so grateful in a time when so many industries are struggling that real estate has been better than ever in this city.
Great, thanks, congratulations. Mike McCann, I see Mike in the chat room. Mike not only is going to give 500, but he's raising the ante to 550. Go ahead, Mike.
Hey, Alan, thanks a lot. Really nice to meet Charlie. Stephanie, incredible job. Of course, Mr. Festa, thank you. And everybody else, because it was an incredible year. Allan Domb, my lifetime mentor, thank you for everything that you do all the time for all of us in our city. And thanks for everybody for being on here, because this is the most important thing. And thank goodness I learned it early in my career to get involved. This year started off unbelievably great. Then the collapse came, and the immediate message we put out was to be safe and healthy and whatever. And then I never stayed home a day in my life, and I'm home for 2 months. It was crazy. Then we went roaring back, and then it kind of leveled out. My personal business is up probably about 10 or 15%, somewhere around there. I'm grateful that we're still essential. And so I am really looking for a good year next year. But the message this year, I think we all have to learn, is to give back, to help those who aren't as fortunate as we are. And my heart breaks for a lot of people. So give back, participate, and I'm proud to be a realtor, that's for sure.
It's great to see you, Mike. By the way, I just want to mention Elfond is in for 500. I see the Kristen Daly, the Daily Group's in for 500. There might be more, and I'll let Matt monitor that chat for the donations. But let's go next to Noah Ostroff.
That was actually brief for Mike McCann, so that was good. So our sales business was volume-wise, we were about the same this year. Unit-wise, we were up about 16%. But probably the most important number is the expense number and the profit number. We were down on expenses and up on profit as a team, which is the most important number that we really monitor. And actually, as a brokerage, which actually gives me a higher level view of what's going on in the market, we were up about 50%. The brokerage is going to sell about $1.6 billion of real estate this year, which is up about 50% from last year. So that's probably the more important number. And we've had our worst months of our careers and our best months of our careers all in the same year. It's been an interesting year.
Amazing, Noah, amazing. I see, by the way, Carrie's in for 550 too. Thank you so much. Thank you. Let's go to Roderick.
Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us. So my personal business is up 25% year over date, and my volume's up 16%. I bring in a tremendous amount of assets from Fannie Mae. We took a hit, right after the shutdown, but with some stuff in the pipeline, we've been able to do well. So we're looking for a good volume for next year, and so that's where we are. And I'm also going to join the 500 Club, Alan.
Great, thank you, Roderick. Thank you.
Oh, man.
Thank you. Right. Thank you. By the way, I see Barbara Capozzi's in for 500 and Greg Damus. Hey, Matt Braden, you probably didn't expect this, but how about realtors coming through? That's pretty amazing. Really proud of all of you. So, we have a
$600 club.
We have 172 participants. I think that's one of your highest number of participants on any of these events. So that's pretty amazing for everybody. Let's go to the next question. Quick answers are always appreciated and right to the point. What 3 things have you stopped doing, if any? And I'm going to add something to this because Noah touched on something that's very important. And I guess this pandemic has forced all of us to focus on our businesses and eliminate those expenses that were not productive. So you can use that as an example too, an expense you eliminated. But what 3 things this year, I'm going to actually change it. What 3 things have you stopped doing, if any, in 2020? Let's start first with Britt and Brittany.
So for us, we've always been a pretty lean, we like to say small and mighty team. So there wasn't much that we had to cut back expense speaking, but we really stopped trying to focus on non-money making tasks. So for us, like we really, like Brittany touched on, was the leverage. So we added a lot more leverage so we didn't have to do tasks that weren't money making for us. And that's really helped us grow this year.
Yeah, and kind of related to the pandemic, or as a result of the pandemic, but maybe not so much. If any of you know, Britt and I joined forces January 2019, and I was a solo agent for 2 years prior. Britt was on a team, and when we joined forces our first year, we had a very successful year, but we both operated in silos. So we were running the same business, but running businesses of our own, just kind of sharing an admin. So 2020 was such a tremendous year for us because we finally joined forces and became the partners that we really wanted to become. And a lot of that, or part of that, was because of COVID and forcing us to really put our heads together and come to agreements and collaborate and work as a team and make decisions, which again, ultimately increased our business. For any business partners out there, that was tremendously helpful, just working together as a team, which seems easy, right? But it's a lot more difficult than you think, so.
Sorry.
That's not me, by the way. That must be
That
your
was
voice.
us. It's the wrap it up bell. Sorry.
Let's go to Julie Welker. Before we get to you, Julie, I just want to mention to everybody, any donation is appreciated. I see in the chat room, it could be $5 or $10. It doesn't matter what the number is. But I do also want to shout out to Alpha Mosaic, and I see they just raised their $500 to $750. That's pretty amazing, Paul. Walsh, thank you. Let's go to Julie.
In terms of changes, our major change was getting a social media person on board, because we had not had that person before. We kind of handled it ourselves. And with COVID, it was impossible. Our volume went up and we really needed someone to concentrate on that. So that was the major company-wide change. In terms of personal changes, I had to stop hugging people. That was a big change for me because I'm definitely a hugger. And like the rest of you, we stopped attending settlements. We stopped attending inspections. Those are just some of the changes that we noticed in our business.
Just to echo what Julie said, I found stopping attending settlements and inspections to just be a huge opening up of my time, and also cutting down on commuting so much and doing so much virtually made me just sort of much more efficient. So some of the things I stopped doing was trying to do too much myself. I had kids in school at home, and I needed help, and I really relied on my team more than ever before. Really got, we just became better as a whole machine, and I got better at delegating to them. I think I stopped wasting time with clients who weren't completely motivated. The stakes just felt high. So if I was going to actually go out and meet a client, I wanted to know that they were ready. If I was going to go through the hassle of filling out those COVID forms and masking and wearing the gloves, I wanted to know they were absolutely ready. And always that's been important, but it felt even more in this sort of situation. We don't want to be out there with anybody who's not sort of prepared, not really aware of what's happening in the market. If in certain neighborhoods and in the suburbs, if they weren't ready to jump in and compete, we were all wasting our time. So kind of just doing a lot of pre-prep before we getting out there just felt like a big time saver. Telling the truth, being straightforward with them right up front. There's no reason to be out there unless we're ready to do this.
Thank you. By the way, just to Keep a running tab here. That Brittany and Britt each gave $500. They want to make $1,000 club. And Greg Damus had a great comment. He saved $1,000 in parking tickets. That's great. So let's go now to Mike McCann, the real estate man.
Hey, the most difficult thing, is since I think it was March 19th, no one's been in the office. Everybody's working from home. So we stopped going into, the team stopped being in the office. Now, of course, since the letdown, we can go in individually here and there, but not seeing everyone, not like Julie, I'm a hugger, not hugging everyone, not going to closings, not having brokers, luncheons, twilight open houses, not having client events. I just started to really get into client appreciation events, not having that, not having our team, get together. But there's so many positive things, but this is what we stopped doing. So, what we learned is that, in all changing times or all adversity, there are good changes that you can come up with. So we've grown a lot, but stopping a lot of things that we never thought we could do, not being in the office, so now we're out on our island. So all I can tell you is I am grateful for Zoom. I know it's not meeting in person, but it is so much better than a phone call. So thank goodness for Zoom.
Thank you, Mike. That's great. Thank you. Let's go to Noah.
All right, I'll start with the personal stuff first. So one of the things I stopped doing about a year ago is wearing sports coats. So I'm very happy to report that I don't wear sports coats anymore. And some days I don't even put on socks. So that's been a big change. I don't take hot showers anymore. I've been taking cold showers for a few months, and I found that I needed ways to give myself energy because I'm not around as many people anymore. So I needed to find other ways to give myself energy. So I found that cold showers have been giving me the energy that I need throughout the day. So just, little things that little changes in my life that I found that have helped the last bunch of months. Now onto the business stuff. So obviously, like everybody said, we no longer have sellers coming to closings anymore. So every one of our sellers now does a deed package. We don't have any sellers coming to closings anymore, and that makes the closing process more efficient. And we no longer take physical checks for our team. We require all wires and other forms of electronic payment, which we'll get into when we get into the productivity tools. And that's been a big change for us. And one other big change that we made on the brokerage level is we added a social equity task force to our brokerage and really started to bring that to the forefront of our business and trying to make some major changes with that, starting with our brokerage and then in the larger community as well. So some big changes and some really positive things this year.
Give us an example of the social equity that you're doing at your firm.
Well, first of all, we created, so Keller Williams created a national social equity task force. And then they created more local task forces as well. So we can start to tackle, various issues on the ground. The first thing we did is we surveyed our entire brokerage with a list of a whole series of questions related to personal experiences around this. So people could really see on the ground level what was actually going on. We also held some town hall meetings so people could voice exactly their perspective on how they were brought up, how they're treated, and how they're treated even in business and struggles that they've gone through, because I think it was important for a lot of people to hear that, because I think that people just in general that haven't been exposed to those stories were not aware of them. So bringing those stories to the forefront so people could really just hear that perspective was really powerful. And we've done that on a lot of different occasions so far. And now that people are aware of it, now we can start to make some changes. And that's what we're starting to do is, figuring out what changes need to be made, what changes people want to be made, and starting to do that and not ignoring it anymore.
That's great. That's great. Roderick, let's go to you.
You got it. Before I get started on that, Noah, thanks. Noah, thanks. It's nice to hear about that program. I know Gary Keller did a good job with the implementation, and you got a chief there, and John Clyde, fostering it on our side of the waters and what have you. So it's nice to hear you guys are moving that forward, Noah. And one of the things that we did at a high level here at GPAR is that, President Stephanie, early on asked all of the board of directors, including myself, to get the at home with diversity certification. So it's a huge, feather and designation in our cap to move this industry forward in the right way. So it's nice to hear you, moving your office in that direction. Noah, thank you for that. One of the things I stopped doing, Allan, was cigar Thursdays. I can't have my mac and noodles and whatnot on Thursdays anymore. So that's a big miss for me. So my wife doesn't allow me to have them in the house. So I can't wait to get back into the clubs and smoke a little bit more. So that's a big thing that's been going. And the other thing is, the reducing the showings that, it's across the board. And so it's kind of par for the course. You make the adjustments and you move forward and see what happens in the future of the next year or two when changes come and they get more of these vaccines in the arms of America.
Thank you, Roderick. Thanks. So, by the way, I wanted to just mention that GPAR, Matt, Stephanie, and all of your board of directors and members, this is a fun event. So we're going to have a good time with this. And it's pretty amazing. I'm looking at everybody and saying, here's 175 people now connected. And we need that connectivity. I mean, this is something that we crave. So I want to thank GPAR for putting this together. Let's go to the next question, which is, what are the 3 most productive tools you have found to utilize in this market in the last 9 months since the pandemic? 3 most productive, I'll say dollar productive tools. So let's start again. Brittany.
Yeah, social media has been one of our bigger productive tools pre-pandemic and during pandemic, and will continue to be post. Our listings are up an incredible amount. I don't know the exact percentage, but this year, so it's been great for us to showcase all of our listings, but more importantly, community engagement. So it allows us to connect virtually with current clients, past clients, and of course, future clients, and then in turn to the Philadelphia community. Another thing we've implemented is team stand-up. So we didn't always do a team huddle, but in the morning, every morning we get together 15 minutes, and alongside our admins and our team members, we run through all standing transactions and just, plan for the day and work on problems, so on and so forth. So.
Yeah, I think everyone is going to have a similar answer, but we implemented video way more than we ever did before, both with virtual meetings, virtual listing and buyer consults, and then also using video in our listings to help sell things and open houses. I think everyone kind of joined that boat. And then since we're at KW, we've really leaned heavily into command this year. And, we were early adopters, but transitioning the full team in there and really running it at a high level has been super helpful to us. And command is our CRM at KW.
Got it. Thank you very much. Thank you. Let's go to Julie.
Not much to add. Zoom has become our best friend, both with our staff and with clients. Giving presentations over Zoom has been wonderful. I can't believe how much time it saves. The other thing we've done in line with what Brittany the Brittany's just mentioned is we do huddle in the morning with our team members. And for that, we use our conference call system. And that has been highly effective. Of course, we changed a lot of the ways we operate in the office, mask wearing, sanitizers, those type things. But I think the communication level and what do I want to say? The value of communicating has really increased both with clients and with our staff out of necessity because we're, not face to face with each other at all times. So that's the only thing I would add.
That's good, Julie. Thank you.
And I just want to remind everyone, I'm an old timer, guys, in case you didn't know. I've been around for quite a while, and I was very interested and pleased with what Noah and his company are doing relative to diversity. But I don't know if everyone here knows it, but when I started, I could not get hired by any real estate company in Philadelphia. There weren't as many as there are now, but there were companies, I won't name names. It was such a while ago, but no one would actually hire me. And I graduated most outstanding student in my class at Penn State, had a master's degree in city planning. So it wasn't because of my credentials. And I just want to say every day I'm so pleased when I see African-American and other people of color in our industry. I just smile because, you know, when I started, it was a completely different story. And the person who did hire me suggested that I start my business in North Philadelphia, which of course I didn't do because I lived in the art museum. And what I did was to tell my story to all my neighbors. And that's how I started and got my listing. So it's just heartwarming that steps are now being taken, but steps have been taken all along the way because there have been more people of color. And again, I smile when I see it. So I just want to share that story.
Thanks for sharing. Thank you.
Julie, you need to share that story more often. That is a tremendous story. And everyone, that story has to live on way past all of us, but people need to know that story. It's really a great story. And we're so proud of you, Julie. So thank you. Let's go to Karrie.
So that's Julie, you're amazing, and so is your daughter. I'm just so impressed. I know we all are, but to hear your story and then see, you know, what your daughter is accomplishing and doing right now, and being, you know, such a model for everybody. It's just so awesome. So
thank you, Karrie.
I'm so proud because we all are.
Thank you.
And as a mom, I can't even imagine if my kids do anything remotely like that. It'll be amazing. So awesome. So yeah, as to the question, you know, I'm not sure that in terms of actual tools that I have anything to add aside what others have said, which is Zoom is amazing. Of course, we do more video and sort of Matterports than ever before. But to me, what this, I think, pandemic and this whole situation has really made more clear than ever is that, you know, the tech tools are a good assistant, and they're a good way to get us in front of people in a more efficient way that's safe right now. But it's in, you know, the same tools that are always there are still our most powerful tools. That's our market knowledge. It's our ability to connect with people, to empathize with them, especially through this year and what we've all collectively been through between, you know, not just the pandemic, but all of the political stuff. We've all been living through such intense times, and to be able to just be a human being, whether it's on the other end, whether it's in person or through Zoom, and also to be people's eyes and ears. I mean, we sold lots of houses this year where they didn't see the house until closing day, and they were relying on us more than ever to be their eyes and ears and interpret the, you know, the block, the neighborhood, the things they can't see in the video. And you know, I felt like we as realtors were as human beings were more essential this year than ever.
Thank you, Karrie. Thank you. Let's go to Mike McCann.
Hi, everybody. Julie is a legend, been a hero of mine for a long time. I remember involved early in the 80s or in the mid 80s and heard her speak. And I'm like, she spoke so brilliant. I'm like, who is this woman? And then watched her business grow, great reputation. And her daughter, like, I'm like, it's like my daughter. Like, to watch her is just unbelievable. And it's just awesome. She makes us so proud. So, and that brings tears to my eyes, Julie. I have no idea. You would never know that by the way you conducted yourself
Thank you, Mike.
To be treated like that and to still be a beautiful, human being, and to put that aside. And that breaks my heart, but you're awesome. Okay, a couple things. The biggest thing for me was, and now with Keller the last year and a half, is digging deep with my past clients. So I've had, I don't know, 5,000 past clients, digging deep to my past clients and calling them. And that also, calling, doing a video, personal video, not about give me real estate business, about how are you and your family doing? If there's anything that you need, just reaching out to the community of my past clients. And I've never done that to the deep level. I'm too busy running around. So really, really digging deep. The emotional impact, it's just unbelievable. People I haven't spoken to for 30 years. It was like we just spoke yesterday. So that was really a big part. And then the other thing that as a result of that, we got what's called an ISA, an inside sales associate, who is now calling everybody, because I didn't call all 5 or 8,000, whatever it is, who's reaching out. Hey, this is Dylan from Mike McCann's office. Mike wants to see if everything's okay. How you doing? And just touching base. So digging deep with my past clientele, my family, been a real good thing. Yes, Matterport. Every listing has Matterport doing the Zoom open houses. Then drilling down on, right, we had a game going on with our team who was cutting expenses, like things we weren't using, and we were sharing, like some of the crazy stuff that we were spending money on, $500 for this or $200 for this or that. So cutting expenses and then increasing our communication with our past clientele. So that's been the biggest win-win for me. And through video, email, text, and personal phone call. So our goal is every day to go into our phone and call 3 people we haven't spoken to who are past clients.
Great, Mike. Thank you. I took a bunch of notes on all of these, so we're all learning from this. It's great. Let's go to Noah.
I think a lot of inefficiencies in the real estate industry have been exposed during the pandemic. So early on, when we were all first starting to stay at home, I made it my mission to try to accomplish 3 things during the pandemic. And I haven't accomplished all 3, but the 3 things were, number 1, early on, try to push through RON closings, remote online notary closings, so that we didn't have to go to closings anymore. There's a lot of inefficiencies around going to closings. Thankfully, a lot of mortgage companies do have that now, and a lot of you are now using these remote online notaries for closings, and hopefully that will become a bigger thing in the future as well, just like DocuSign did back in the day. The other thing that we tried to push through as far as efficiency and productivity was eliminating checks. There's a lot of inefficiencies around checks. Buyer has to go to the bank, buyer has to give it to their agent has to drop it off to the listing agent has to give it to their office, the office has to deposit it, then they have to get the check and go to way too many steps in the process. So we're trying to eliminate checks. We found a couple services other than, of course, wiring money. We found a couple services that do this at a high level, similar to like a Venmo type of a situation. Earnest.com, EARNNEST.com, and earnestly.com. Both of those are services that we now use to receive money and send money out. So we've eliminated that. It's created some efficiencies there. And the big one that I was trying to push through early on was to have real estate agents getting paid their commissions at the closing table. That would have created an immense amount of efficiency in our business. A lot of other states around us and around the country pay the real estate agents at the closing table, but for whatever reason in Pennsylvania, it's not allowed. We've taken this up to the highest level in Pennsylvania without success. And actually for a period of time, we actually thought we were going to be able to get it pushed through, but it was shot down at the last second. So it's still my mission to try to get real estate agents paid at the closing table and create more efficiencies in our business, so you guys have more time to go out and sell more real estate.
Thank you, Noah. Those are great ideas. Thank you. Let's go to Roderick.
Thanks, Allan. I guess the biggest tool that we've implemented is Zoom and Zoom showings. Again, just to be consistent with what's happening in these times, is that And the other thing that in my business personally was the biggest tool was interest rates. So I'm doing some commercial transactions, and with rates historically at the numbers that they are, I had the opportunity to have my investment owners refinance some of that debt service to create some of that wealth down the road. And so I think it's huge when you look at where rates are today and you got these commercial assets, levered with debt. If you can get that debt restructured and move forward based on these times, it's a win-win for myself and the client. And it makes me, stand out because it's one of the things that may be missed. And so I took a hedge on that early on and talked to my owners and said, hey, listen, we need to restructure this debt so that you can be solvent and move forward and make strong investment decisions 21, 22 when this thing finally shakes out. So low interest rates has been a big tool for me and my segment over the last quarter.
Thank you, Roderick. Thank you. By the way, I was just thinking, these were all great ideas. I hope everybody took notes. I took a bunch of notes. I don't know if GPAR, is any from GPAR is taking notes that actually they could pass around some of these ideas, but it's tremendous ideas. On the Julie Welker, I have an idea, Stephanie, for you, and that is maybe we should talk to Charlie Oppler, and maybe there should be a profile on Julie Welker in the National Association of Realtors magazine. I think it's clearly worthy of it. I think it's something all of us would be proud to see. It should be in Pennsylvania's magazine, Bill Festa, and our local, but on the national level, that'd be very impactful. And I think it would be really a tremendous honor for Julie, if she's willing to do it, to talk about that and be interviewed for that. Anyway, let's go to the next question. I'm going to mix up the order a bit here, but our last question is, what are all of you doing in this environment to create wealth for yourself in this market? Let's start with Mike McCann first.
Okay, well, always buy real estate. That's the first thing. Personally, I always live well below my means. So save money. This downturn, I was clearly prepared. So save money, buy real estate. That's all I know. I took a class at Temple Real Estate Institute back in the late 80s. And I had this teacher, his name was Allan Domb. I don't know if you ever heard of him. And he said, Mike, you make money selling real estate, you build wealth owning real estate. And that stuck with me. So that's it. Of course, there's passive ways to make income. And with Keller, there's passive ways with other partnerships and things. But it's pretty much buy real estate. That's how I build wealth and keep enjoying what I'm doing. Helping other people, I don't know. My wealth today is different than it needed to be 20 or 30 years ago. My wealth today is helping people. That's what I love to do. Yes, I need to make money and build wealth. So saving money, not wasting money, investing in good, solid things, supporting businesses that will grow you. So I'm not a stock market guy. I'm not a numbers guy. I'm just invest in people. That's what I like to do in real estate.
I'm going to put you on the spot, Mike, and I'm going to ask everybody to come up with one neighborhood you think in Philadelphia that's a good place for some of our colleagues on this call to look at for investing. What would that one area be right now?
I love many, but I love West Philadelphia. I love, Kensington, Fishtown area. I love South Philadelphia. So to me, around the core and the expansion of Center City, that's all I know, but all the neighborhoods, I've seen them grow over my 3.5 decades in the business. So provide, and again, I've never been I own lots of single houses and duplexes and in blue collar neighborhoods, and I clean them up and then the neighborhoods change. Germantown, Mount Airy, a lot of people are going out to there also. Really anywhere. To me, I like to build nice or renovate nice, clean, affordable housing for the working class people that is in an area that is just getting better. And I like to help with that improvement, slow and steady. And that's how I started early, and remember telling people, yeah, someday houses will be $100,000 in South Philly. People were like, what are you kidding? They were $40,000 at that time. What are you kidding me? You crazy? So.
Okay, thank you, Mike. It's great. Let's go to Noah.
All right, I love this question because I love this topic. It's a big thing that we talk about. And I think it's the most important thing that real estate agents can focus on. My definition of wealth is having $1 more of passive income than you have in personal expenses, so that you can have freedom to do what you want when you want. Financial freedom, personal freedom. That's my definition of wealth. And it's basically building a business for the future, right? Wealth doesn't happen overnight. It's not like you go out and get a job in wealth. Wealth is something that you're building for the future, and it requires a commitment every day, every week, every month, so that in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, when you stop selling as many real estate houses as you're selling now, you have this future business that's paying you money while you sleep. So that takes a commitment. So some of the things that I'm doing, or that I've been doing over the last year to do that, is first thing is investing in businesses, buying businesses. Mike McCann and I and our other partners, we started another brokerage in the main line, KW Main Line. I bought some other companies along the last year as well. Mostly recurring revenue type businesses is what I typically focus on. I'm always shopping for properties. I'm not always buying, but I'm always shopping for properties. This way, when a good deal comes along, I've seen enough deals to know that I can buy one. So I'm always investing into passive income properties. The way I kind of look at my wealth building strategy is I have my job, which is selling real estate, running the brokerage. Then I have, I funnel that money into the development stuff, which is where you make the big chunks of the money, and they take that money and roll it into the long-term wealth building stuff, which is the passive income, the rental property. So, you kind of need all of those, or at least 2 of the 3 of those, to be able to have enough money to keep reinvesting back in that. Cutting expenses, that's a big part of the wealth building strategy as well. We talked a little bit about that earlier, but no matter how much money you make, if your expenses are rising at the same degree as your income, you're never really going to truly build that wealth. So managing and cutting expenses, and part of that cutting expenses goes to refinancing my properties. I've taken advantage of the low interest rates just like everybody else, and have refinanced pretty much all of my properties over the last year. Some of them down to interest rates of 2.75% for big properties. Some of these refinances have saved me $5,000-$6,000 a month per property, and it's big savings, and that's part of the wealth building strategy as well. That's it. I'll keep it short. That was short for me too.
That was great. Thank you. By the way, Barbara Capozzi, our past president of GPAR, put in the chat a book called The Millionaire Next Door. Great book. So for those of you who haven't read it, you should consider reading that book over the holidays. Let's
Councilman,
go to...
Can I interrupt for a second?
Sure. Go ahead, Matt.
Noah, can you repeat your opening statement there? You had a sentence about your kind of motto about $1. There's some folks in the chat that want to hear that all over again.
Sure. My definition of wealth is having $1 more of passive income than you have in personal expenses.
There we go. Everybody hear that? Hope so.
Let's go to Karrie. Karrie.
So I've also been in the last few years involved in the development side of things and done some renovations. I own some rental properties, which I'm trying to continually add to. I've only bought houses. I've never sold. So it kind of started, organically, just from, keeping the house that I lived in and turning it into a rental. And now I'm more actively pursuing properties. I've also, got involved in lending money to a couple of the builders that I work with that I, trust, and help them with their projects at nice interest rates. I've always been a saver more than a spender, even when I made very, very little money. Even when I was waitressing, I was always sort of socking it away, putting it away in some manner. I live below my means too, and there's not too many things that I want, but at this point, I have a house I love. I have a house in Cape May that I love. I kind of have everything I want. So it's more just, setting things up so that I can have that freedom. I also have been really lucky to learn from people who know more than I do about that from the beginning of my career. So Bob Elfont is an absolute genius when it comes to investing. And I've always taken his advice. And whenever he's, come to me with an opportunity, I say, if it's good enough for Bob, it's good enough for me. And, been able to get my foot in a few different types of investments that are more long-term. Paul Walsh is also always a great, sort of mentor in that way when I'm thinking about an investment opportunity. So just learning from people who have done more than me in that way, and then continually saving. I just funded my kids' college fund because I was able to save so much this year. And, although I secretly am hoping that they might follow in my footsteps, because I have a master's in journalism. And I tell you, the amount of wealth I've been able to build off of this real estate license that costs $600 has been pretty remarkable. So hoping at least one of them have a taste for this, because it's just incredible. The sky's the limit in terms of what we can earn.
Go to Roderick.
Hey, Alan, thank you. Like Mike McCann, I had the pleasure of having an instructor, Mr. Domb, talk to me in 2015 about earning real estate by, you make your living by selling it, and you create your wealth by buying it. Fortunately for me, I started in the early 90s buying a property, one a year on my birthday. And so I implemented that. And it's one of my investment strategies. I think that you don't need a big party, and I'm a big cake eater. So sometimes there's a struggle, the investment property or the cake, but you got to use leverage. But I think if you can buy a property every month for your birthday, it sets you up for retirement. And so that's huge. One of the things I'm looking at now is with I do a tremendous amount of business in the default service side. And we're, based on numbers from Fannie and HUD, there are going to be some tremendous opportunities 21, 22 for residential sales. So positioning myself through, like what I said a few minutes ago, restructuring the debt service with these low interest rate, position yourself to be primed for those great properties that are going to come on the market over the next year or two. And so I think those are strong ways to create wealth, not only for myself, but for the real estate community at large.
Roderick, and good to see you, Roderick. I just saw a little aside. Back in 2015, Roderick took me all over West Philly. Remember that? We were out like a whole couple days.
Right.
Thank you so much.
And in regards to the neighborhood, I'll answer that question. So the neighborhoods that I'll say, if folks on this line want to look for investment opportunities, West Philly, it's surging right now. And in Southwest Philly, the Bartram Village area, I think those are going to be primed for redevelopment and just for increased appreciation and value. So let's start there.
Thank you, Robert. Thanks. It's great information. Let's go to Julie.
Okay. I didn't take Allan's course, but I happened to be friends with Allan and Jay Lamont, and they gave me that advice. And since I've been around for quite a while, we were able to buy properties in the art museum area that turned out to be great investment properties. And like Noah, we refinanced as many properties as we could this past year to bring our interest rate down. So our debt ratio became lower, and we have managed to accumulate a nice stash. My philosophy, just me, is that I like things to be close. So I'm not into investing in areas that are far away. It just works better for me. And what else did I? And we had a similar strategy, not every year on my birthday, but of regularly buying investment properties. And remember, I've been around a while, so we were able to accumulate a nice stash. This year has been interesting because I wondered how the income would be affected by COVID. Knock on wood, 95% of our tenants have been able to pay their rent. There were a couple who weren't, and I worked with them. Whatever it was they were able to do to pay the rent, I just worked with them, and I'm not charging them back rent. They can pay what they can afford, and there were only 2 who were in that position.
That's phenomenal. That's great.
Allan, can I add something?
Sure. No, go ahead, Noah.
So a couple of things I forgot to mention, and Julie kind of brought this to the light. The most valuable resource in investing in wealth building is time. And I think that's important to make note of is you need to have the time in order to build that wealth. That's the most valuable thing. And the last thing is wealth is what you don't see, right? Wealth is not the fancy cars or the big houses or all the things. That's not wealth. Wealth is actually what you don't see.
Very insightful. That's good. Oh, I think that's very, very insightful. Thank you. Let's go to the Brittany and Britt.
Yeah, so for the first thing we did this year was really invest in our team. So with the CARES Act, we were able to make some moves to help our team out throughout the year, which was really nice. And I think some of them are on here, so I didn't want to give it away, but we're doing something at the end of the year for them as well, along the lines with the CARES Act. For us personally, we maxed out our SEP IRA this year, and we also have really been working on planning out our retirement plan and adding benefits and things like that to our team and to our business. Obviously, we're newer at this than a lot of the more established people. And then we're investing a lot in what our market center has to offer. So buying into title shares, there's an insurance company coming that we're investing in, things like that.
And then of course, just like getting back to basics, one of our biggest keys to wealth is surrounding ourselves with the right people. So both at a brokerage level, at a team level, at home, and then of course at a business level. Jack Barry was one of my biggest mentors when I first got started in the business. So shout out to him. He's still very much one of my biggest mentors. Everybody on this panel, I've always looked up to since the inception of my business and our business. Karrie Gavin, whether she knows it or not, has always been one of my biggest idols and somebody that I look up to greatly. So that's been one of my biggest keys to building wealth. And in turn, just in the past 14 months, I've personally purchased 4 properties of my own. Which is incredible, coming from nothing and diving into real estate and building this really beautiful thing that we're building. So it's been really incredible overall, and that's been our key to wealth.
Tell us what area you think we should all consider investing in.
We've been looking at Tacony and Bridesburg, seeing a lot of activity there. Just the value that you get per square foot is quite remarkable.
Yeah, I think anywhere that you can afford and that fits with the type of property you want to be invested in. I think not everyone is ready for a fix and flip. Not everyone is ready to buy distressed assets. So if you can just get in the door and get your foot in the door, that first property is really the catalyst to growing your wealth. So just get started. That's the biggest key.
All right, well, thank you. Listen, this has been great. I have a few quick comments. I'm just going to
Allan,
share
can I
with
say
everyone.
just one more thing?
Mike, go right ahead, please.
Wait. Health is wealth. I forgot that is the most important thing that we have. Health, both physical and mental. If you don't have your health, you don't have anything. So that, has to be a priority.
Hey,
I echo that, Allan.
be careful with that, Mike. No, you may want to have, you may give Noah the opportunity to start another challenge that, we get up to 300 push-ups a day, Mike.
That was great. I love it. But I love that. But it really, 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 really is, family first, then business, health, then wealth. So it really, really is. You have to take care of yourself. A lot of people, you have to reach out to people and help people, because a lot of people not having the human contact that we all need. That's why everybody's on here too, is so important. So it's physical. And yes, I started with COVID. With COVID, I said, I'm doing 250 push-ups a day. I've not missed. And guess what? My belly went down about 12 pounds. Unbelievable. And I can do it at my schedule, and I don't have to drive to the gym. Anyway,
Right.
So I wanted to share that out. Sorry.
So I will say this about Zoom. The good thing for me about Zoom is nobody can even see my belly. So that's the positive thing here, okay? But I just want to give a shout out. I noticed she's joined us, and Joanne David is on with us. And I've known Joanne and Julie and many of you for 40 plus years. So I just wanted to say hello to everybody. I just want to share a few things. Number one, from the city's perspective, shop local if you can this holiday season. Our local retailers need your dollars. And what I'm hearing, by the way, on this call is live below your means, how important that is. And I don't know if you've seen this, but on the national level, savings rates are up 20% from last year. How positive is that? People are hoarding money, which means when this vaccine gets implemented, there is going to be some money put into the market across the board. 20% increase in savings in 1 year. That's nationwide. It's pretty amazing. On a city level, I will say this. When you look at the employment numbers, and we had, I think it was Lawrence Yoon, our NAR economist, a while ago on a call, the employment for law, the employment for insurance, finance, construction have stayed the same or increased. Technology has boomed in the last 12 months, but there are industries that have suffered tremendously. And those are the ones in the hospitality industry, which I'm pretty much focused on right now to try to help in our city. What do I mean? Hotels, restaurants, gyms, arts and culture. They're getting crushed. Hotel employment's off 50 to 70% right now. Restaurants are 30 to 50% off. Gyms are shuttered. So whatever we can do to support those entities, we need to do. They're very important. You know, we're all fortunate. Many of you have residential real estate investments. People, the last thing in the world is they lose their home. The first thing is they'll get rid of their investment property. So you're going to see your rent payments do really well in residential. Office buildings are paying okay. Commercial, retail that are restaurants and retail, they're getting crushed. They're not paying rent. So there's a benefit to being in the residential business. I just want to end this with two positive things. One, the vaccine's coming. We all can see the horizon, which is amazing. It's going to change this whole economy in the next 3, 6, and 9 months. And then a special shout out to the University of Penn. I don't know if all of you know this, but I honored 2 of the doctors last week in council. These 2 doctors at University of Penn has a cell therapy program, which is the future of our city, life sciences. They're the ones who developed the ability for all these pharmaceutical companies to come up with the vaccine. It came out of Penn. Pretty amazing that Philadelphia's doctors are going to be the reason why this vaccine's implemented across the world. I mean, we should all be so proud of that institution, what they're doing, and support that. And by the way, life sciences, especially cell therapy, how great is it for real estate? The economic job multiplier is 5 to 1. So what I mean is for every job they create in cell therapy, there's 5 more jobs. That's phenomenal for real estate. It's phenomenal for the whole city. So on that note, I want to thank our panelists. You guys did a phenomenal job. I'm sure there's a lot of takeaways. And I have a whole page of notes that I'm going to be implementing. So I really want to thank you and wish all of you good health, happy holidays. Let's get this vaccine implemented. Let's get back to seeing people. And a special thank you to Stephanie, our president, the board, Matt Braden, and the GPAR staff. Thank you all. Merry Christmas, happy holidays. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Allan.
Thank you. Fabulous job, Allan.
Thank you very much,
you.
Councilman.
Fabulous
Thank
job.
you to all of our panelists. You guys were awesome. For everyone, we are recording this session, and then we'll throw it onto our YouTube channel, so you'll be able to watch this. If you missed some notes, you can replay this. And what we're going to do is going to break it down into segments. So we'll have the coffee talk, we'll have this segment, and then we'll have Kevin Gillen's presentation in a separate segment. So you don't have to like fast forward, rewind, all that kind of stuff. With that, we're going to take a little break. But before we get to the break, we had a lot of people throw into the chat that they were going to drop some money for Phil Abundance. So we saw the total go up, but I'm not sure if everybody who said they were going to be making some of those very generous contributions have done so. So there's the link, just dropped it into the chat. With this, I'm looking at the clock, it says 10:01. So at 10:06, we'll get ready to rock and roll with Kevin Gillen's presentation. So go get a cup of coffee, run to the restroom, whatever you got to do. We'll see you guys in 5 minutes, okay? 5-minute break.